They say some love stories are written in the stars. But this one? This one feels like it was written in a script, only to come alive in the most breathtaking way. From their very first encounter on set, to whispered rumors behind the scenes, to moments that felt a little too real to just be acting, Wang and Bailu's journey has always carried the magic of a drama. And today, that magic has reached its most beautiful chapter. Because what fans once imagined has now become reality. Wang and Bailu are married. Yes, you heard that right. The two who captured hearts as co-stars. The two whose chemistry had fans replaying every glance, every smile, every accidental touch, have now promised forever to each other. And their wedding? It wasn't just an event. It was a story, one that felt like it leapt straight out of a drama script, but with no director calling cut. The day began quietly. A soft morning light broke through the clouds, illuminating a private villa tucked away in a serene countryside. No flashing paparazzi cameras. No loud media frenzy. Just an intimate gathering filled with family, close friends, and those who had witnessed their love blossom quietly over time. Bailu, radiant as ever, prepared in silence. Her makeup was simple, elegant, just enough to highlight the glow she already carried from within. Her dress? A vision of lace and silk that floated like a dream, with delicate embroidery that shimmered under the morning sun. And Dylan Wang, the once playful, boyish actor who stole hearts with his mischievous charm, stood tall and steady. For the first time, the mischievous glint in his eyes gave way to something deeper, something softer, the look of a man who knew he was about to marry the love of his life. When the music began, it wasn't grand or overwhelming. It was gentle, a piano melody that seemed to echo the beating of hearts in that moment. As Bailu walked down the aisle, the world seemed to hold its breath. Even the wind softened, carrying her veil with a kind of reverence. Dylan's eyes never left her. Not once. And in that look, the years of rumors, the endless speculations, the laughter on set, the stolen glances, all of it found its answer. It was always her. It was always him. The vows weren't scripted. They weren't perfect. But they were real. Dylan, voice low but steady, promised to protect her, to make her laugh on the hard days, and to always be her safe place when the world became too heavy. And Bailu, with tears sparkling in her eyes, promised to never let go of the hand that had always reached for hers, even when no one was watching. The guests couldn't help but smile. Some cried. Some laughed softly. Because this wasn't just another celebrity wedding. This was a love story the world had quietly watched unfold. And now it was official. When Dylan leaned in to kiss Bailu, it wasn't dramatic or staged. It was tender. The kind of kiss that said more than words ever could. A seal to a promise that this was not the end of a drama, but the beginning of their forever. And in that moment, the line between real and real disappeared completely. The reception carried its own kind of magic. Fairy lights twinkled against the night sky, draped around the garden like stars brought down to earth. Long tables were filled with flowers, laughter, and soft conversations. Friends teased them lovingly. Colleagues from the industry raised toasts, recalling their early days together, how no one could ignore the sparks between them, even back then. And fans? Though not present, they filled the world outside with joy. Online, social media exploded with hashtags, photos, and emotional posts. From co-stars to soulmates, trended globally. Clips of their wedding leaked through invited guests who couldn't resist sharing glimpses of the fairy tale. But for Dylan and Bailu, none of that mattered in the moment. Because their world had narrowed down to just each other. At one point in the evening, Bailu leaned into Dylan as they shared a private dance. No choreography. No rehearsed steps. Just the two of them swaying slowly, eyes locked, smiles soft. If you looked closely, you could almost see the flashbacks. Their first script read, their first on-screen kiss, their first time laughing uncontrollably between takes. It was all there, stitched into the silence between their heartbeats. And yet, what made the night truly unforgettable wasn't just the beauty, the elegance, or the romance. It was the authenticity. Because this wasn't just a wedding for show. It wasn't for headlines or for cameras. It was for them. Two people who had found something rare and worth holding onto in an industry that so often blurs the line between reality and illusion. Dylan and Bai Lu didn't just marry each other. They married their story. A story that began on set, and now will continue for a lifetime. So as fans look at the photos, as they replay the videos, as they swoon over every detail, from the dress to the kiss to the way Dylan couldn't stop smiling, one thing becomes clear. This isn't a drama anymore. This is real. And it's more beautiful than any script could have written. Somewhere between action and cut, they found forever. Somewhere between make-believe and reality, they found love. And now, with rings on their fingers and vows in their hearts, Dylan Wang and Bai Lu step into their new role. Not as co-stars. Not as characters. But as soulmates. As husband and wife. And truly, their wedding day was straight out of a drama. Only this time, it was one they wrote together. The highlight of the reception was something that no one expected. Dylan, who had always been playful on set, turned serious for a moment. He stood in front of the microphone, holding Bai Lu's hand. The crowd fell silent, waiting. He began to speak, not as Dylan Wang, the celebrity, but as Dylan, the man who had loved Bai Lu quietly, deeply, and consistently. "I don't know how to explain this feeling," he said softly, voice cracking slightly. "I spent years acting in dramas where I was supposed to fight for love, protect the heroine, and say all the right lines. But in real life, I often wondered, would I ever find the kind of love that scripts promise? Would it ever feel that pure?" He looked at Bai Lu, his eyes shimmering under the chandelier lights. "And then you came into my life. At first, it was just work. Just two co-stars. But you ruined me," he laughed gently, making the audience chuckle through their tears. "You ruined me for anyone else because you taught me that real love doesn't need scripts. It doesn't need perfection. It just needs truth. And you are my truth." The entire hall erupted in applause, with some wiping away tears. Bai Lu herself couldn't stop crying. She pulled him close and whispered something no microphone picked up, but the way Dylan smiled afterward told everyone it was something unforgettable. Then, in a twist that felt straight out of a drama, Dylan began to sing. It was the OST from their very first project together, the song that fans had shipped them over years ago. His voice wasn't polished like a professional singer's, but it was raw, heartfelt, trembling with sincerity. As he sang, Bai Lu joined him. Their voices blended, not perfectly, but beautifully, like two people who had walked through storms and now found their harmony. It was a wedding, yes, but in that moment, it became a performance, a confession, and a